Even though it's my husband's funeral, the chief mourner needs to come early. That's right. Everyone's waiting. Out of the blue, I received a call from an unregistered number, and when I answered, wary of a potential scam, my ex-mother-in-law blurted out something outrageous. It seemed my ex-father-in-law was there too, making me brace for what was coming. What's going on all of a sudden? That's because Tom has died. You owe him a lot, right? It's only natural for you to act as the chief mourner. Oh, and make sure you bring a sympathy gift, please. Their words were all over the place, and my head started to ache from listening. But I attended Tom's funeral last year? What? Why would they be surprised? After all, I was informed about Tom's death roughly a year ago and had attended the funeral. Apparently, my in-laws hadn't realized I was there. What do you mean? I could hear the tremble in my ex-father-in-law's voice. Taking a moment to compose myself, I began to recount my attendance at Tom's funeral. My name is Sasha. I'm currently 41 years old and work as a nurse. My 3-year-old daughter, Anna, recently started to use more words she learned in daycare, chatting with me like a little chatterbox. She's at such an adorable age, and I'm willing to work hard at both my job and home to raise her. In fact, I'm a single mother, having been married once before and then divorced. My ex-husband's name was Tom, a taxi driver who was 4 years my senior. When we first met, Tom was gentlemanly, and despite being in my mid-30s, I found myself quite interested in him. Professionally speaking, I earned a bit more than he did, but that didn't matter to me. I was head over heels in love with him at the time. I believed our happy days would continue forever. I never doubted it until we parted ways. I'd like to explain, step by step, why I ended up divorcing Tom. We met at an event that was held in the city. Being engrossed in my work, I had missed the so-called marriageable age and started feeling lonely about spending my life alone. At 36, I thought my chances of getting married were slim, but I believed nothing would start if I didn't take action. So, I joined a mixer recommended by a friend. It was an event in New York, so there were quite a lot of participants, roughly 100 men and women. The women were in their 30s, and the men ranged from their 30s to 50s, which was a relief because I didn't have to compete with women in their 20s. However, men usually approached women in their early 30s, and at 36, I was already feeling defeated. That's when Tom, who happened to be at the same table, struck up a conversation with me. The seating's a bit cramped, isn't it? Would you like to talk somewhere else, just the two of us? Yes, I was thinking the same. Tom found his way into my heart by creating an opportunity for us to talk one-on-one. Moreover, he was a reasonably handsome man, and I guessed he must have been quite popular when he was younger. He was a taxi driver by profession. I didn't care much about annual income when it came to marriage, but I knew some women did. Maybe the good-looking Tom was single because of that. It's my first time at an event like this. I wasn't sure how to act. It took a lot of courage to talk to a beautiful woman like you, Sasha. Oh? Thank you. I blushed immediately, not used to being complimented. Honestly, I wasn't the type to be called beautiful, so I quickly realized Tom was just being polite. Still, I was thrilled to be complimented. As the event came to an end, we warmed up to each other through harmless conversations about hobbies and how we spend our weekends. We exchanged contact information and went on a few dates afterward. Despite being an adult man, our dates weren't just quiet dinners. He also took me to movies and aquariums, responding to my suggestions. If I didn't think about income, he was perfect as a marriage partner. As we continued to date, I started to fall for Tom seriously. I hadn't expected to experience that sweet, sour feeling of love again at 36. But I believed love was necessary for marriage, so I took the initiative and asked Tom out. He seemed surprised that I made the first move but soon smiled and said I'd be happy to. So, our serious relationship began, but given our ages, Tom proposed quite soon after we started dating. I was overjoyed and immediately said yes right there and then. I was so grateful and happy that Tom chose me, a woman not so young anymore. Shortly after we started our married life, I was surprised to find out I was pregnant within just about 6 months. This was a shock to me. Many of my friends who got married in their 30s lamented how difficult it was to conceive, so I had almost given up hope on having children. But here I was easily pregnant, which was both a surprise and a great joy. I reported the pregnancy to Tom right away. His reaction was one of shock, as if he hadn't expected it at all. Sasha, is that true? Yes. I got it checked at the hospital, so it's definite. Is that so? Tom looked down, his eyes averted. Was there some problem? But in the next moment, he was back to his usual smile, saying, "That's great." I let my guard down completely then, not knowing that the situation was already taking a drastic turn. The pregnancy journey began, but throughout, I was constantly in poor health. Some pregnant women go on trips or visit spas during their stable period, but I was far from feeling active. Morning sickness was terrible, and I couldn't do any housework, let alone feel better during the stable period. Even talking to Tom felt like a chore, and I couldn't eat at all. When Tom asked if I was okay, all I could muster was a vague "yeah, well." Perhaps giving up on conversing with me, Tom started to leave me be, creating a bit of distance between us during my pregnancy. It was lonely, but I believed that once the child was born, we would return to the happy family life we used to enjoy, so I managed to get through the pregnancy. Later on, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. I named her Anna and called her that even while in the hospital. Her chubby cheeks were so adorable, and despite the tough delivery, I felt it was all worth it. Tom couldn't be there for the birth due to work and didn't show up at the hospital at all. Whenever I reached out, all I got back was "I've been really busy at work," and with that excuse, I couldn't say much. Eventually, Tom never showed his face, and my hospital stay ended. I had to take a taxi home alone with Anna in my arms. Looking at the taxi driver's back, I wondered if Tom was out there driving just like this, as I headed home lost in thought. As I opened the front door saying, "I'm home," I was startled to see unfamiliar women's shoes lined up. What was this about? Before I could think further, I was startled by the sound of a man and a woman's voices coming from the bedroom. Tentatively approaching the bedroom, I peeked inside. "What are you doing?" Holding Anna, what I saw was Tom embracing a woman who appeared to be nearly 20 years younger than myself. "What?" The woman, startled by my voice, turned around in panic, naked. Tom too looked at me in shock. "Sasha, was today your discharge day? I had no idea." Trying to act nonchalant, but his words were far too ludicrous given the situation. "Lies, I informed you just yesterday." "Oh. I forgot. Sorry. As you can see, let's just break up." Feeling perhaps it was too bothersome to be blamed, or since his infidelity was already out in the open, Tom quickly suggested we break up, making me feel sick to my stomach. Without even a moment to be upset. "So, let's just end this quickly. Please and thank you." The other woman, brazenly unshaken even in front of the wife of her lover, calmly stated this. I was too shocked to retort. Finding out Tom had already prepared divorce papers only added to my sadness and anger. He had planned to divorce me from the start. While I was suffering from pregnancy-related health issues, he was enjoying himself with his affair. Just imagining that he was doing this even during my delivery sent chills down my spine. "It's your fault, you know. I didn't want kids, that's why I married you at 36, and then you just went and got pregnant so easily." Tom cursed me in a tone I'd never heard before. Tears streaming down my face, I signed the divorce papers. Anna started crying midway, and I became flustered. Even seeing us like this, Tom just sent a cold look our way, as if to say, "Kids are such a nuisance." After a day that felt like a nightmare, I went to file the divorce papers with shaky steps. The situation was too overwhelming to grasp fully. When I finally told my parents, planning to stay with them for a while, they were furious. They seemed ready to confront Tom, but I refused. Punishing Tom wouldn't heal my wounds. It would only lead to more pain if he harbored a grudge against us. Reluctantly, they backed down. With my parents' help, I managed to raise Anna and eventually return to work once things settled down. Just as Anna was about to turn 2, and I had healed from the divorce and gotten used to balancing work and motherhood, an unthinkable event occurred. It was a Sunday afternoon. My parents, wanting me to rest, took Anna out, leaving me alone to relax and watch TV at home. Hearing the doorbell, I thought it was a delivery and opened the front door. "You are..." I was speechless at the sight of the person standing there. A young woman in her mid-20s, tall and stylishly slim. With flashy nails and fairly heavy makeup. She was a beauty that would catch anyone's eye in passing. I recognized her as the woman who had been in bed with Tom. But why was she here at my parents' house now? My mind was filled with questions, and I was too stunned to speak. "Hello, it's been a while. My name is Holly." To get straight to the point, my husband Tom passed away recently. There's a funeral tomorrow, and you need to attend. If you don't, Anna's life is in danger. Holly spoke in a monotone, her gaze piercing me. Her eyes were hostile, instilling fear in me despite her being much younger. The threat, Anna's life is in danger, sent chills down my spine. Is it true that Tom has died? Yes. It was an accident. He died instantly. Despite announcing her husband's death, Holly's expression didn't change, making me wonder if she had any human emotions at all. Okay. But why should I attend his funeral? You and Tom betrayed me. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but I don't feel obliged to attend his funeral. I managed to say this firmly to Holly, despite my fear. Then Holly's expression twisted grotesquely, like a demon. I gasped in horror. Shut up! Give me money, or Anna's life is in danger, got it? Don't make me repeat myself, you old hag. Her voice was deep and menacing, shrinking me further. Her drastic change and the reality of her threat made me fear for Anna's safety. Knowing my parents' address, it wouldn't be hard for her to target my young daughter. To protect Anna, I asked for the funeral location. Make sure you bring money. Holly emphasized bringing money and left once she finished her business. I was frozen in fear for a while, collapsing at the entrance. When my parents and Anna returned, my mom asked what happened, seeing me in a daze. I only told them about Holly's visit and Tom's death, omitting the threats and her demand to attend the funeral. The next evening, after work, I attended Tom's funeral, telling my parents I was going out for dinner with a friend from school. Holly looked at me expressionlessly as I handed over money. I attended the funeral. Seeing my former in-laws for the first time in a while, they seemed much thinner than when Tom and I divorced. I had limited interaction with them, meeting only for marriage introductions and New Year's gatherings. They didn't speak much and showed no reaction to their former daughter-in-law attending their son's funeral. It seemed they really hadn't noticed me. But I couldn't bring myself to make my presence known and quickly went home after the funeral ended. A year after Tom's funeral, Anna turned 3, marking 3 years since our separation. Since Tom's funeral, Anna and I had started living together. I felt guilty for relying on my parents any longer, and there was also a fear that Holly might show up unannounced if I stayed at my parents' house. Life with just Anna and me had been peaceful until one day, an unknown number called my smartphone. This happened on my way back from picking up Anna after a usual day at work. Anna was sleeping in her room, and I was preparing dinner. Hesitant to answer a call from an unknown number, which wasn't a toll-free number, I eventually pressed the call button and held my phone to my ear. Hello. I tentatively voiced, waiting for the caller to respond. Then, I heard heavy breathing from the other end, which puzzled me. The funeral of your husband is happening, and you, the chief mourner, need to come early. That's right. Everyone's waiting. The callers were Tom's parents, and my ex-mother-in-law started with an unbelievable demand. It seemed my ex-father-in-law was there too, making me brace myself. What's happening all of a sudden? That's because Tom has died. You owe him, don't you? It's only natural for you to act as the chief mourner. Oh, and make sure you bring money, please. Their words were all over the place, giving me a headache. But I attended Tom's funeral last year? When I responded with confusion, what was their incredulous reply? Why would they be surprised? After all, I was informed about Tom's death about a year ago and had attended the funeral. Apparently, my in-laws hadn't realized I was there. What do you mean? I could hear the tremble in my ex-father-in-law's voice. Taking a moment to compose myself, I began to recount my attendance at Tom's funeral. A year ago, Holly suddenly visited my parents' house, telling me to attend Tom's funeral. She threatened that if I didn't, my daughter's life would be in danger. She kept insisting I bring money, just like you two are doing now. I calmly narrated the events of the previous year to them. Over the phone, I could sense the couple gasping. What did you say? That woman did such a thing? Could you meet us in person right now? Huh? They sounded desperate in their request. Right now? Well, Anna is sleeping at home, so if it's at my place, then okay. I didn't want to get involved in any trouble, but considering my in-laws and Holly's unpredictable behavior, I reluctantly agreed. All right. Come over then, and give me your address. After giving my anxious in-laws my address, they arrived in about 30 minutes. Sorry for intruding. They barged into the room. And I was so taken aback by their behavior that I forgot to offer them tea.
We want to hear everything. What did Holly tell you?
It seemed their opinion of Holly was quite harsh, as their faces contorted every time they mentioned her.
Just like I said earlier. I was threatened by Holly to attend Tom's funeral and bring money, but it seems you didn't notice me. What happened?
My ex-mother-in-law was visibly shaking.
That woman. She took all the money and even stole valuables from our house before running away. We had to pay for the funeral expenses ourselves.
Her eyes blazed with anger. So that's what happened. Holly took all the money meant for funeral expenses. The in-laws, struggling financially, concocted a story about a new funeral for Tom, trying to swindle more money from me. Had I shown up with more money, they probably planned to take it and run. Despite the atrocious nature of their plan, they continued to portray themselves as victims.
Holly claimed she married Tom believing he was a successful businessman. She was deep in debt and made us her loan guarantors. Now, we might have to pay off her debts. She's the worst.
Their faces twisted with resentment. My mother-in-law claimed she was against their remarriage from the start and even suggested that Tom's death was orchestrated by Holly for insurance money. Their disdain for Holly was apparent, and as an outsider, I wanted to block out their ugly words. I was also worried Anna might wake up to their loud voices. Regardless of their full-on rant against Holly, they were here to beg for money from me, just like before. They never apologized for Tom's cheating that led to our divorce. Yet here they were, full of rage against Holly, ignoring their own wrongdoing. I was on the verge of exploding with anger when, right at that moment, my phone rang.
Another call?
Thinking it was a day with unusually many calls, I saw it was yet another unknown number. Maybe it's a sales call, my ex-mother-in-law suggested, but feeling uneasy, I gently pressed the call button and turned on the speaker.
Hello?
I softly spoke, and immediately heard heavy breathing from the other side.
Hey, you moved, didn't you? Where are you now?
What? The caller was Holly. This made both me and my ex-in-laws exchange looks. Wondering how Holly got my number, I realized by looking at the guilty faces of my ex-in-laws that they had given it to her. They probably told Holly to call me and demand money, thinking they could use it to pay off some debt. It baffles me how they and Holly could have such nerve.
If you've moved, you should have told me. I just remembered you haven't given me a wedding gift. I'll be needing $20,000, send it over quickly, will you?
As expected, Holly demanded money. I sighed heavily. A wedding gift? $20,000? It's insane to think about giving a wedding gift now, especially after my husband's death. To begin with, Holly stole my husband, there's no way I'd celebrate that. Filled with indignation, I calmly informed Holly, making sure not to wake Anna.
I don't have a penny for you. I know about the substantial debt you're in and that you stole valuables from your in-laws. What? Why would you say that?
Holly seemed genuinely shocked, her agitation clear over the phone.
I heard it from Tom's parents. Oh, and they're right here next to me. They're the ones who gave you my number. They came over to beg for money, just like you.
Really, all of you are the worst. I lashed out at everyone present. Holly and my ex-in-laws included, who responded with outrage.
If it weren't for this woman taking our money, none of this would have happened. That's right. If only you hadn't been cheated on, none of this would have happened. Wait a minute. I'm the victim here? Tom lied to me saying he was a CEO, and I ended up getting scammed. You raised a scam artist, that's on you.
The argument became a mudslinging match over the phone. Listening to their selfish claims gave me a headache. It was absurd that Tom's parents were shouting in my house, blaming me, the actual victim. I took a deep breath before addressing them.
Let me say something. Tom's parents, I was hurt by your son. Isn't it ethically wrong to demand money from me? I haven't even received an apology from you. We don't care. Tom was the one who did wrong.
Their refusal to acknowledge any fault made something in me snap.
Fine. Then I won't hold back. I'm calling the police on you for attempting to defraud me with a fake funeral. What?
The word police made them shrink.
Police?
Holly's mockery was audible even to her, serves you right. But I shot back.
What's so funny? You're getting reported to the police too. What?
Holly's shock was loud and clear.
Why should I deal with the police? I told you I'm a victim. I was poor and met Tom on a dating app. He sweet-talked me, saying he could take care of me because he was a CEO. I didn't even know he was married. When I found out about you, his wife, I was shocked and even had to pay alimony. I was deceived. I'm the victim, so please don't report me.
Holly desperately claimed to be the victim. Listening to her, I wondered why everyone around Tom was so deplorable. Holly's claim of being unaware of Tom's marriage was undoubtedly a lie. When I caught her and Tom together the day I returned from the hospital. If she truly didn't know, she would have been just as shocked. It wouldn't be surprising if she were speaking ill of Tom. But Holly seemed prepared, telling me to quickly divorce them. So, her story of being deceived by Tom was unlikely. Even if Tom lied about being a CEO, she approached him blinded by money, which was her responsibility. I couldn't sympathize with her playing the victim. Deciding it was time to end this, I spoke firmly. Stop lying. I won't be fooled by your tactics anymore. I'm ending this call and reporting you to the police. And to my ex-in-laws and Holly, never show up in front of me again. Goodbye. I first hung up the phone and then kicked my ex-in-laws out of the house. They were begging for mercy, saying, please, anything but a report, but I ignored them all and immediately dialed 911. After a while, the police arrived and I explained everything to them. My ex-in-laws were under suspicion for attempted fraud, and Holly was suspected of both fraud and theft. They would likely be arrested. Mom, what's wrong? Anna emerged from her room, noticing my distress. Oh, nothing, honey. How about we move again?
Move again?
Yes. I found a cute new place for us.
Yay!
Thinking that my ex-in-laws or Holly might find us again if we stayed, I decided to move immediately and planned to change my phone number as well. This should ensure I never have to deal with my ex-in-laws or Holly again. Later, after successfully relocating to an apartment closer to my workplace, I learned new facts about my ex-in-laws and Holly. Despite their attempts to scam me, it turned out they had also been deceiving relatives and coworkers for money. The thought of their vile schemes made me sick. Those who had lent them money initially did so out of goodwill, but soon realized something was amiss after being asked for money repeatedly. Learning that my ex-in-laws were habitual fraudsters shook me to the core. Moving away to avoid further harm was probably the right decision. As for Holly, the story about her parents' poverty was a lie. She had amassed a significant debt by indulging in luxury brands. She worked nights to pay off her debts, seemingly exploiting her clients' affections to have them shower her with expensive gifts. While receiving gifts from clients might not have been an issue, one of them realized he had been a victim of romance fraud and reported her to the police. Therefore, Holly's crimes, now unveiled, would likely result in more severe charges. I no longer wished to associate with people like my ex-in-laws or Holly, who deceive others for money. I hope they reflect on their actions and serve their due penalties. After moving, life has been peaceful. Anna and I have been enjoying our days together, without any calls from my ex-in-laws or Holly. Recently, Anna has taken a liking to a boy in her daycare. And hearing her talk about him in her innocent, lisping voice brightens my day. I pray that these peaceful days continue as I head to work each day, grateful for the tranquility we've found.